Everybody, welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer. That is Paul Wadlington. We're going to talk about the portal acquisitions, finishing strong, all of that, but also we're just going to answer your questions. So keep them going in the chat. But before we do that, head over to Inside Texas. Right now, you can get 50% off the Ultimate Fan Bundle. You'll get Inside Texas, our site, paired with On3 for national football news, and then Rivals for all the recruiting stuff. So it's an excellent combination if you want to stay locked in. All right, Paul. Sunday was pretty enjoyable. I haven't talked to you since not even Sunday, the whole weekend. The Biles to Smothers close was a beautiful thing. Your first thoughts there? I want to talk about each player with you because you always have good thoughts, but just kind of globally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we upgraded the running back room. Both are explosive guys. They're both similarly sized, but they kind of do it a little bit differently if you watch their running styles. Very interesting guys, very complimentary. Texas probably needs to go get a big back if Christian Clark is fully done. Has he signed with anyone, or has he just entered, basically?
He's just entered.
Okay. So if he doesn't return, they're going to have to maybe go get a third back. Unless, they're really good with Derek Cooper as potentially the big back, but that's a lot to put on a young freshman. So the good news is there are running backs aplenty that you can basically sell on the University of Texas as, hey, you're going to be a complimentary player. We would need a big back sometimes. We've got these two little backs. You're going to be our change of pace guy. Come and make your name and play against a higher level of competition. I'd go hit the G5 or the FCS and go get a guy. And there's those guys aplenty, right?
Well, you need it. Yeah, 100%. It doesn't have to be a name, even though we like names. It has to be no name, cheap. But really, man, we need a pass blocker because Smothers, if you watch his tape, they don't ask him to pass block. He's to the flats every play.
He runs out on a route every play.
Yeah, and then Raleek is not a pass blocker either. So if I look at one hole in the running back room right now, or one question that has not been answered, it's simply pass blocking. And so that's going to be a big factor. Now the running back, whoever you bring in, is going to have to be able to run too. You can't just simply have him in and they're like, he's going to pass block. But that's really the big hole right now. And I agree, but you don't need a spend here. Just go find a guy that likes to pass block, smart enough to pass block as well.
Yep.
All right. Good morning, guys. We're already starting with the offensive line stuff. We'll talk about Seaton first, and then we'll get into Coleman and all of that. So Jordan Seaton comes in planning to enter the portal. I don't know if he's officially in yet, from Colorado, projected future first rounder. I've been watching his tape this morning. Really great feet. I mean, he moves very well. So it's obvious there. He's a big guy. So of course that's a check for Flood. Pass blocking focus, not a huge run blocker. All the stuff that you typically used to seeing Sarkisian, Flood select for in a tackle, and what the NFL will also ultimately select for, Seaton has it. Paul's in Colorado, so he's been able to lock in. He knows exactly what's going on there. What's the word on the street out in Colorado?
Well, the word out on the street of Colorado Springs is that Jordan Seaton is hungry.
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, he went to Colorado. Obviously, he was a big recruit for them. He was a huge thing for Prime to actually get a native high school recruit. He started as a true freshman. I think he started as a true freshman. And he's got a lot of experience given his age. He still needs 1 year where he can highlight his abilities against top-of-the-line pass rushers and athletes. And I think he'll achieve that in the SEC or the Big Ten, right? That's probably the case. There were some one-offs in the Big 12 that could rush the passer, Texas Tech, Utah. Other than that, you run out of schools pretty quickly.
Well, didn't even play Texas Tech. I was looking at their schedule, and I was like, yeesh, because I was trying to find tape to pull, trying to find pass rushers. Utah is what I pulled. Utah's what I watched, but I was like, this schedule, man, is like, there's nothing going on here.
Yeah, he plays a little high in the run game. But I do think that remember, he's still got development going on. He's an offensive lineman, right? These guys don't max out when they're 19. So I think he's looking for a place where he can play against elite level competition. And I think he's looking for an opportunity to get a payday. And so, there's also, I think there's a good argument for Texas because you can look at him and look, there is an element of PR to college football, and getting eyes on you is never a bad thing. So if Texas looks otherwise complete and they're going to go play for the SEC title or deep into the playoffs with Arch Manning and Cam Coleman and all these guys, there's value in just getting all those eyes on you and being an integral part of that run. So I think Texas has a good appeal, even if we do technically return 2 starting tackles. But, the imprimatur on offensive line for any offensive line coach, any coordinator, is best 5.
I was going to say, so Quentin asks, where would Jordan Seaton fit at Texas? And Eric has been clear that it's ultimately going to be a futile exercise to be like, who moves where, who did it. Right now, it's just talent acquisition, and then the chips fall throughout practice. That's kind of what's going on. Because Eric said, multiple people have asked, is that Baker to guard? What does that mean? What about Gooseby? And it's just right now, it's futile. They want Seaton, they'll get him on, and then they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and the thing I would stress is the thing that does make him special is he's just a naturally big guy. So some O-line, you ever seen O-line who retire and they're like walking around at 235, 240? Yeah. Like they're kind of bulked up. And then there's guys that if Jordan Seaton went on the biggest diet in the world, I don't think he can get below 285, right? I just think he's a naturally huge human and he's got pretty good feet. So his pass blocking is really good, and it can get better. I mean, he's still improving. And honestly, I don't think he was getting great development at Colorado. I think he was relying a lot on his native ability. And so I think hopefully that's something that Texas can pitch to him. And I think he's a guy we would want. So we'll see how it falls. My guess is O-line tend to not drag these things out in general, dispositionally. So he'll evaluate his offers, and I think he'll make a decision relatively quickly.
Quentin, well, dang, refund. He's going to play tackle, is my guess, Quentin.
Yeah. He's not going to be our third guard, Quentin.
Yeah, so that's what we have to figure out.
He would play tackle.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure it. But, yeah, I watched this tape. Really natural feet. He's just a natural athlete at the position. It's everything that you've seen from Flood's tackles. And you kind of, whenever you get mad at Flood, you don't really – Flood's of two worlds. Flood's been good with the tackles. Besides penalties, the development in tackles has been stronger. He's had better talent there. He works better when they're towards the top of that range. It's the interior that he's struggled more with. But this is a clear kind of Flood take. There's nothing crazy about this as far as his.
So let me offer a counterpoint, not to offer any black clouds on nothing but silver linings of the last few days.
Yep.
You really prove your developmental chops inside.
I agree.
So outside, we've recruited amazing tackles. And if Banks or even Gooseby had played their college football at Canisius, at Montana State, they'd still be on NFL draft boards, right?
Well, Kelvin Banks started coming in the summer.
Yes. I mean, so, all respect to Flood and all that, but if he's going to say, I did that, like pointing at Kelvin Banks, I'm not sure that you can say that, right?
Christian Jones was really the only one I could point to. And then
Christian Jones is a guy who improved every year, and Flood kept that progression.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
That's one
I would say my issue is what's happening inside and starting guys who are non-starters. That was a problem all year. And so I'm going to write an article about this, little foreshadowing of basically if we can just get up to average inside, left guard, center, this offense will take a huge jump forward. Because what we miss are it's the opportunity cost, right? So we always tend to hyper-focus on the plays where we did get the ball off and, Wingo had to catch that, or, oh, man, Archer's a little off. There's also a bunch of other plays that didn't go off because Arch got pressured by two guys as he got the snap. And if you eliminate a lot of that, you'll be surprised how much offense there is out on the field, especially with Cam Coleman out there running around, stretching it out. So, and then Smothers and guys like Relique, popping big runs. So, We just got to get to average inside. And then if we're outstanding on the corners, on the edges, then that's really good as you get deeper into playoff football, because you're more likely to encounter really good edge rooms that can just wreck your game plan. So, I mean, Miami is playing for the national title on the strength of their edge room and their O-line. And you know, that's an amazing freshman receiver. That's about their formula. So, you know, there's value in just getting up to average inside. And if we do that, it's going to have a huge effect on the offense.
What rule is that, Paul?
Oh, I don't know my rules off the top of my head.
I would say you did damn 30 of them.
I just like to spout them off.
Rule 17.
Rule 17.
Don't disregard going from bad to average.
17B.
That's how it was with the running backs when, you know, everybody was like, we need an elite running back. I was like, getting an elite one is great. We just need a average running back, and that offense would have looked a lot better. And so to get good running backs, you'll see a
yeah. I mean, look, we were a bottom quartile SEC running back room, and now we are what, second quartile or top quartile, maybe the bottom of the top quartile.
Yeah,
there's a big difference in that.
Well, that style works with his offense because even, you know, we did all the film studies all season. There's always 4 or 5 plays, no matter what, even with a bad O-line for Sark. There's 4 plays where it is there. And if you're fast enough, you can get 40 or a touchdown.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't do that. So even in the worst case scenarios, there's big runs to be had. It's just not a consistent grindy team. But it's there even last year for these big runs. We just didn't have the ability to shoot the gaps. Quentin wants to know, where'd you get that hoodie? Don't let him down again, Paul. We need a store that he can purchase at.
Quentin, I got it at Connor's mom's house.
Okay. Well, thank you. Nothing's for sale. So
no, I actually don't know. I don't remember where I got it. Maybe Fanatics. I don't know.
Just lie to him. He's going to be mad.
Dude, I feel bad. Quentin's
wasting all his money.
Pumping money into the ecosystem, and we're coming up short.
Sorry about that, dude. All right.
Quentin's the dude who's got a huge bet with an OU fan at his barber shop.
Correct.
That OU fan's not going to pay up, dude. He doesn't have any money.
Yeah. Well, he can just get 5 haircuts. I don't know how much haircuts cost, but just get 5 haircuts and walk out every time if he doesn't.
In trade.
Yeah, just get it in haircuts, I guess you could do. Have you got a chance to watch Biles? I did some Biles study. We're going to have a defensive film study with Drew and Jet all on Biles.
Yes.
Coming out tomorrow. He's actually my favorite pickup of this class so far over Cam Coleman. I think he's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm fascinated for Drew to watch basically a version of himself running around in modern college football, right?
Yep.
He is basically, look, man, maybe 25 years ago, this guy's a strong safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he is very agile. He's very quick. He's instinctive. He triggers. You'll notice his best highlights. He's always moving before the snap.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that. You want him to use his quickness and his instinctiveness. I'm actually kind of surprised OU wasn't interested in him because I think he would profile as a Venables type linebacker. But the Pittsburgh system, for those who aren't familiar with Narduzzi and their system defensively, they make their linebackers the stars because on every play, their linebackers are doing something. They're stunting, they're crossing, they're moving before the snap, they're doing stuff, they're getting covered up and coming in, you know, from the side, like they're lined up on the side of the formation, peeking into the backfield, and they'll just trigger when they see certain things like a lead block or a certain blocking scheme. So that system creates statistics and it creates linebacking stars. That said, you could still separate the system from the man. And you can't play that system unless your linebacker is good.
Correct.
So Biles is good. What we've got to be really careful about is asking him to do too much traditional linebacking stuff, like, you know, read the play, flow, take on a guard, you know, meet the tackle in the hole. He'll do it. He's willing. But you'll wear him down and you'll lose his efficacy if you play him too much as a traditional linebacker.
Yeah, and so Muschamp runs a stack linebacker system. So the whole point is the nose and all of that gotta dirty it up. The guards aren't supposed to touch him, and so that allows him to free flow and move, and he'll be able to do that. But he has a bunch of pick sixes, instinctive pick sixes, not just a guy threw it to him.
Yeah.
A bunch of pick sixes. He had a nice scoop and score we'll cover as well. One of my favorite plays, which looks simple, but we'll explain it. He just covers a back, and Notre Dame. Is it Love? Who's the baller at?
Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love. Okay. And then so he covers him out of the flats on a third down, matches him perfectly, and hits him behind the line. So he can cover running backs and run with them step for step. He might even be a little faster at times to the flats. He can do that. He can drop back in real coverage, not linebacker coverage. One of his picks, he's dropping back, and then he reads that the dig's coming behind him, and he floats over there and steals. That's real, like, safety-like behavior that's going on. And then he's when he does shoot gaps, you're right. He's not gonna. His style's not to take on somebody head on. He'll skirt around them real quick, and that's how he gets guys. So yeah, he's not going to be your Mike, plugging up A gaps, but his fit for Muschamp will work perfectly. And then on third down, you have a potential pass rusher if you don't want to drop him into coverage, which you might want to drop him into coverage. He's good there too.
Well, I'll tell you what, with Ty Anthony Smith, and depending on what we do at Mike, I tell you what, against more conventional sets, we don't have to play a base nickel
at all.
No.
You don't have to play dime ever, because you would take the will out for dime, and he can cut. You don't even. So it's like he can do whatever.
Yeah, I really like this guy. The stats are obviously very gaudy. Just know that part of that is the system of Narduzzi. But again, part of the Narduzzi is one of the, I don't know if you guys know much about him as a head coach. He's one of the most frustrating head coaches in college football. He is ultra conservative. He makes ridiculous, analytical decisions in game all the time. But the guy can identify linebackers, edges, defensive linemen. He's that guy who can watch, you can give him tape of 10 3-stars. He will find the 2 that are going to hit. And so anytime you can rob him of players in the front, particularly at linebacker, take a Pat Narduzzi guy who's proven anytime. And I think Biles is a first-team All-ACC selection, right? He's going to be great at Texas. Just understand what he is. He's an oversized, strong safety baller who just kind of makes plays, runs around. And to Connor's point, he makes the plays that you can't scheme for. He'll just sort of be like, hey, I think the quarterback's going to dump that off on the screen, and he'll just go sprint to the spot and one arm the ball and run it back for a touchdown. He's that guy. And so having him with Jelani McDonald running around, that's really exciting. You get enough of those body types, and the big plays just start to mount on defense.
Yeah, and throwing over the middle is now scarier.
Yes.
J. Ray S., thank you for the donation. I'm excited about our imports, but areas of concern. Number one is discipline. We can't be 130th plus in penalties. Number two, Sark, build a lead and coast to a win. We need to put teams away. Style points still matter.
Yes. Indiana probably has proved something about style points, right? And part of Notre Dame's argument for making the playoff was based on style points. Look, we're blowing out bad teams. For the record, we finished 132nd in penalties out of 136. So we were not dead last. We tried in that last bowl game, but we didn't get it done. So, yeah, we do have to clean that up. One of the things you notice watching Indiana, and look, Indiana, Curt Cignetti is going to create a lot of opportunities for head coaches who would not have gotten an opportunity before. He's 64. He came up the hard way, came from FCS, came up to, the lower tier of FBS and James Madison, G5. He's going to get a lot of opportunities for coaches. He's going to get a lot of people fired. Because people are going to say, look at what Curt Cignetti did. Why can't we even approximate something like that? And coaches are going to have some uncomfortable answers, right? That said, one of the biggest keys is discipline. What Indiana just doesn't, they don't shoot themselves in the foot. They're frictionless, right?
Yeah.
And we are friction-y. whatever the opposite of frictionless is. So Indiana is second in the country in penalties. 27 yards per game. They commit less than 4 penalties per game. That's like a service academy, right? Yeah. And they don't have service academy talent, right? Indiana's not the most talented team in the country, but they're talented. So you're 100% right. We've got to clean that up. Again, going from horrific to even average, even if we got ranked in the 40s here.
Yeah, 100%. I take
It's
that.
worth what? 2 or 3 points a game?
Yeah.
I mean, literally. And you might say, well, 2 or 3 points a game. Who cares? If I took 30 points and I let you sprinkle them throughout the season, you can go from 10-2 to 12-0.
I was gonna say it's worth a win.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And then build a load and coast. Man, I feel like that's programmed into us at this point. And maybe we can break out of it, but I don't know, Connor. You have your frustrations with this. 30 is the number. Once Sark hits 30, he's done calling offense, right?
Yeah.
I agree with this. The truth is, if you're, as much as we try to pretend everything's now metrics and analytics and these top men on the committee who are evaluating, who really know ball, blowing people out impresses people.
I said it yesterday with Eric. I was like, these people are simple.
Yes.
Winning by 30 looks better. And remember, Sark took that jab at Miami right before the playoffs. Like, what? I guess I got a run-up score. And then Cristobal was like, made the comment that he beat who we lost to or whatever.
Florida.
But it was like, well, Miami's now in the playoffs and now in the national championship for running up score to get their final spot. So Sark's got to get that out of his head. This is not the NFL. I understand that that's the style, but it's like these people are simple. And I know sophisticated people are going to go like, you don't have to blow teams out to dominate them. We know what he was doing. They're watching the games. It's hard enough to watch one game. Like Paul says, Paul's with pen and paper, writing notes, rewinding the Texas game. Well, you can't watch 4 and take it in. They're just going to see, wow, that was a lot of touchdowns. So Sark does have to get away from that kind of elitist, like, well, real guys know that you don't need it. It's like, well, these aren't real guys. So, yeah, I agree. Style points do matter, and they matter throughout the season. And Sark figured out, remember at the end of the Big 12 championship season, ran it up on Tech, ran it up on Oklahoma State. So whenever he saw it, but it's like, dude, just do it all year too. And because there's a problem with this 30 thing is I want reps for our depth. And if you keep us in close games in the fourth quarter when I could have seen XYZ player, also helps with future portaling, all of this stuff. I think it's important to get into your depth as well. And when you want to play these close ones, you don't get to your depth as fast.
Yeah, ultimately, these guys on the committee are box score glancers. And they're just going to look at your box score and what was the score? And they're not even looking at the good parts of the box score that Homer and I like to go into, right? They're like, how many yards did you have and what was the score?
Yeah.
And it's how it is. And there's a lesson to be learned. I mean, Indiana, part of the reason they're the number 1 seed is they just keep pouring it on. I mean, there's no breaks for Cignetti. And people were like, hey, why do you have Mendoza in? You're up 30-something points on Oregon. And that's just the culture. Like, we're gonna finish and complete the game. So
I was watching an interview with him because everyone's like, why don't you do what Cignetti does? Cignetti talks about wanting to be a head coach when he's 6 years old.
Really?
Like, yes. And I was like, guys, you're not going to recreate this human being because his dad was a coach for where at West Virginia. And so he grew up in football. So his dad was I think his dad was for Bowden, worked for Bowden.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he grew up in this and he's wanted to be a head coach since he's like 6. And so they're like, just recreate when it's like, guys, this is a strange person. And he talks about in that same interview that he went to, he was a position coach in the FBS. And then they offered him some low tier job that was going down a division, not even G5 lower. And he was like, you're not technically supposed to do this. I'm going to take the pay cut and just go be a head coach because I've always wanted to be a head coach. So it's like, guys, you can try to recreate Cignetti's. People's experiences matter, and you're not going to be able to create that same collection of life experiences to create this individual. So just take the good lessons from them, but you're not going to be able to be Nick Saban. You're not going to be able to be Cignetti. These guys have the life story. They didn't just wake up one day with this knowledge. It was earned. But let
me ask you this. What do you think about all the internet dork suppositions that IU is cheating?
Cheating because of what?
Because they're playing well and it doesn't match their talent. basically is the supposition. And there's a guy on their staff who has a cybersecurity background.
Oh, therefore
he must have broken into the film banks and they had Oregon's practice tape, stuff like that. What do you think about that as an explanation for, hey, these are results that don't match talent, therefore something nefarious is happening?
So they said that they got Oregon's practice tape so they could see like what they were repping before the game?
That's the supposition, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. The reality is they don't commit penalties. They execute at a high level. When other teams make mistakes, they capitalize on them. I think that just looks like a well-coached team. Sure. I think that's a lot of cope.
I think there's a lot of cope. And I think people don't understand what talent is. Like, talent's kind of what you can do on the field. And so I wrote an article on Inside Texas, and we've had a ton of content, so it's already off the main sticky. But Indiana's receivers are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it or acknowledge it because they're not all 4'3" guys. And they're not all, they're not wearing 6 gold chains and they didn't go to all the camps. They didn't dominate 7-on-7 and they're not 5 stars, right?
Yeah.
But if you watch their receivers play, they play like NFL receivers. Yeah. Like they body dudes out. Every other throw from Fernando Mendoza is to the back shoulder, right?
It's incredibly you can't defend a good receiver that can play fade to back shoulder and when paired with a quarterback they can throw it, because if the corner is deeper, back shoulder is always there. If the receiver wins, the fade is it's indefensible, and it's on the outside of the defense, so there's no guys lurking in the middle. If you can throw that, it's the best insta offense, or you get a PI, and it's unstoppable when your quarterback can throw that well and your receivers can execute it.
Well, and all the receivers are big and strong.
Yep.
So every receiver for Indiana, they have 4, like a core 4. And then all of them are over 200 pounds. All of them are strong. Elijah Surratt is like man strength. He's like 6'2", 215. Omar Cooper is their fastest receiver. He's not even that fast, really. And they're all over 200 pounds. They all have really strong hands, and they all back shoulder everything. And so people look at them and they're like, well, they're, whatever, they're fine. Dude, in a real football game where you're actually like trying to win the game and convert third downs and convert in the red zone, which is what Indiana does, they're massively talented. Like, they're awesome. But people view talent as guy who runs 4.3 can only run 2 routes. Okay, we bump him at the line of scrimmage and we shade a safety towards him. Now he's got 2 catches for 22 yards on 9 targets. Elijah Surratt, if you do that to him, he has 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he's still going to run the same routes.
Well, so, elite is as elite does.
That's it. That's what I'm. Yeah. Thank you. You would just save 10 minutes of discussion.
Yeah. Well, that's the big problem we had with Texas's offense this last year. Earlier, before fans had come to grips that it wasn't a functional offense, I just have the numbers. I'm like, guys, these are really bad numbers. And they're like, no, we're good because these players are NFL projection. I'm like, guys, good is as good does. I don't care what the projections are if it doesn't translate to why we're projecting is because we're hoping that will come to fruition on the field. If that's not occurring on the field, who cares about the projection?
Well, that's the frustration we always have doing the deep dive and doing our discussions here on the live or the stuff I write, is we all have these expectations, and a lot of them are built up by recruiting or just a natural projection of, well, the guy did this Trey Wisner rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Therefore, he will rush for 1,400 yards this year. And it's like, it doesn't really work that way, right? Yeah. And then you actually have games. Like, we have data. We're watching the games, and we're telling you, hey, this is the truth. And they're like, no, that's not true. Wingo's awesome. And it's like, Wingo's dropped 5 balls in the first 3 games. I don't know what to tell you, bud. Like, that's the data. That's the reality. And so it's always amusing to me when people argue with you about statistics, because they act like statistics are bequeathed to a player from the stat god.
Yeah, it's a historical
record. It's just a record of their performance. That's what they are.
Yeah, people. Well, they won't even say stats. They'll go analytics. Because that's more amorphous, and so they can act like it's abstract. But it's the argument. They'll think they're arguing with me about analytics. I'm like, there's nothing to argue about. It's just yards after contact per attempt. It's a simple formula.
It's like me saying the British slaughtered French knights at the Battle of Agincourt. and they're like, analytically, you can pluck whatever you want. It's like,
Well,
I'm telling you a
con-
thing that happened.
Yeah, they're like, what's the context? And I'm like, look, we can argue context, but we cannot argue the fact of this. All right, Utah Horn. Do you see Sark going all gas, no brakes this year?
I mean, it would make so much sense because we got left out of the playoff, because it's Arch's last year, because Sark is irritated about the performance of not only himself and his staff, but the team, right? From 2025. We're probably in a good place if we're all disappointed in a 10-3 football year, right?
Yeah.
But all of it points to that, Utah Horn. But I still can't say yes, because I know dispositionally that's not how Sark is wired. So I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
I mean, the staff or the players he's trying to assemble, it's like, why? It would be so strange to assemble this group of people and then still go conservative. I have to ultimately go with the history, right? But yeah, I mean, if there's a chance that you end up with like 4 or 5 first rounders, like, why would you not press that edge as much as you can? And like, we saw where it was like, look, if you're a young 5-star and you don't play, essentially, like, we're offloading you off the books. Well, you can make some of these guys play by getting up by 30. Like I said, like you can do a lot here to see your depth and keep guys happy. But he traditionally doesn't do it, but he did do it, like I said, that Big 12 season. Tech, because they were talking crazy mess, so he ran it up. Florida, he like accidentally ran it up a year ago. We were just scoring at will. But so it can happen with the right stimulus, but it's not his natural thing. But also, why would you acquire these level of explosive talents? These are all like big playmakers, like a Coleman, the backs, that kind of stuff. Arch is a playmaker. You know what? You might not even have to Sark to make the conscious decision. You might be so explosive that it can naturally do that. But
so that's a great point, Connor. Imagine if you have at least league average interior O-line play, very good tackle play. Arch, Coleman, Wingo, the young freshman receivers are leveling up. Khalil Lockett. We've got 2 explosive running backs. You've got a young tight end who's coming into his own, right? You get penalties from 130 ranked in the country to 45. With all of that talent, the gas is getting applied whether or not you're even touching the brake.
Correct.
Right? It doesn't really matter. You just sort of will go through people because you're kind of playing with elite talent and you're not creating own goals, right? So honestly, it may not even be a philosophical change. It may just be you just kind of glide through some people. And, it always helps too defensively to be good, right? If you hold your opponent to 10 points or 13 points, it's a lot easier to blow them out. So
exactly. All right, before we keep going, very quick word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
I ain't lying. It's always quick. All right, let's talk some Cam Coleman going on here. So we're gonna do a deep dive on Cam, which you guys should be looking out for that on Thursday. But I did a cut up where I went through every single play of Cam Coleman for 4 games. And
you got his somersault.
I got his somersaults on there, and that's not the only. He does it 3 separate times. That's why I noticed it on tape that he likes to somersault when they score, because he's always on like the back side, just away from the play, hanging out. So what Auburn did was criminal. In 4 games, he runs across the field 1 time.
Sark will take care of that.
He does a shallow 1 time, and they don't throw it to him. And he's over there. So me and Ian have been going back and forth because Ian, in his article, he said Coleman has Wingo-esque yards after the catch. And I was like, no, he doesn't. And so we've been arguing about that back and forth. But to Ian's point, I'll steel man him. They used him so predictably and in such a gross way that Sark, by just doing simple things like motioning him into the slot or just sending him across the field, can change that yards after catch. All he ran, it was absurd. Fade.
Stop.
Well, it fade, come back, stop, quick in.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you're a DB and you understand matching people's depth, as a DB, you're Xing out routes based on the depth.
And he basically wasn't allowed to cross the hash.
Correct.
He could, his foot could touch the hash as he caught a quick in. That was it.
Exactly.
He was kept in a little box and not allowed to leave.
And so they basically used him as a dummy. And so they would just get people to send coverage to him, and then they'd go the other way. Another big usage they had of him, he would just run fades, and then the safety in the corners would fall off, and then they would run behind him, which is something Texas will do a lot because he's going to give you space to run right behind him outside. But it was crazy. I'm surprised he stuck around that long, because if you want to be a disgruntled receiver, that using him like that would make me disgruntled incredibly fast. His superpower, we know. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of analytics, if you just look at his analytics, they're terrible.
They're awful.
Because of his employment, because of his usage.
Correct. So he had his yards after catch was 2.1. That doesn't even rank in the top 200 on PFF receivers. You can't even see him in relation to other receivers. It's so low because all he's not getting opportunities for yards after catch. So what he'll do is, of course, they're going to shade the coverage to him. So they're going to run a sit. And as soon as he runs the sit, the corner and the safety are going to be vice him immediately. So there's no yards after catch there. There's not yards after catch on the fade unless he just pure wins. Come back. He's just going to come back. His back's going to be turned. Momentum's going to be stopped, and the corner's going to jump on him. So it's just how they used him was horrific. So to see Cam Coleman unlock, but so, we talk about the frustrating parts of it. His route running for his 4 routes is incredible. Like, he has incredible feet. He breaks down for his size combination. That's excellent. And then we know his superpower, right? Ball tracking in the air. That's his biggest thing that he can do really, really well. The ball just looks like it teleports around DBs. That one catch where it goes around the DB and he catches it low one hand is absurd to even be able to see that. And just be able to move in 3D space like that is crazy. So he has the fade. Sark will unlock him across the field. That's going to be a huge factor. But it was just disappointing how he was used and what he was asked to do, because he was basically a dummy for Jackson Arnold to panic and then scramble or just run behind him.
Or stare at.
Yeah.
How many film clips are Jackson Arnold in the pocket? The pocket's pretty good, and he's just standing there patting the ball.
Both the quarterbacks.
And, I mean, Coleman's open. Throw the ball. What are you doing? But I guess they talk about like NFL open and college open.
Yeah.
I guess Jackson Arnold wants like high school open. You have to be like 9 yards running ahead of the cornerback who's trailing with his arms like rerun and what's happening.
Well, a big problem too is like Cam doesn't stay on his feet a lot because the ball is so like all the yak opportunities aren't even there because he's not able to run after the catch. So it's either like putting his zip code so he has to jump 100 feet in the air and then when he comes down, or it's towards the ground so he's having a falling catch. There wasn't just a lot of Cam moving open, running across the field, ball hits his hands and he keeps going. It's very rare to see that happen at all. So just it was a pretty brutal watch, and I'm surprised he stuck around that long. But he's going to be a huge difference maker. But what you will notice is I put on the cut up like routes where he didn't even get the ball. He just ran a damn good route and he's open. That's in the cut up. And then I show examples of how they try to take him away. So number one is just they're going to play way off. And so they're going to give you the sit, which is a mission that they don't want to run with them. They'll shade it. If it's too high, they'll just bring the safety over. If it's single high, the safety will act like he's in the action. As soon as the snap comes, he's going to turn his hips to Cam to pay attention. And then they'll drop outside linebackers under Cam with a corner over top. So they'll cloud him and over top that way. So you have to make a really window throw. But there's a clip where Georgia's doubling him in the red zone where this guy looks like he's on the slot. As soon as they snap, he turns and runs to Cam. So he's horizontally bracketed. So it was just fun to watch all the ways because there's only like 4 combinations where you can do that with an outside receiver. And I saw every single one trying to solve for Cam. And it lets them do stuff on the other side of the field. And that's what they do.
Is it fair to say our deep dive coming out this week is going to be Cam Coleman focused?
Yeah, it's going to be a little Cam Coleman focused.
All right.
But it's just really exciting to see him, what he can do, because a lot of it will be projection because they just used him so poorly.
What he can do.
Smothers. I was really excited about him too, man. Like watching his tape, he's a real running back with real vision and real yards after the catch. He's able to glance off of guys, keep going. And because of his acceleration, even if he's going to get tackled, he's still going to fall 2 or 3 yards because of the speed in which the collision happens. I was really impressed with him. At first you're thinking this is a speed back. He's not a speed back, even though he is fast. He's a real running back. He has real vision. He moves well. He looked like Miami's Tony in the screen game, that one screen he got where he housed it. He can move over the middle with 4 or 5 guys around him, and he can calculate really fast and get around them. So I think Smothers was a bigger grab than I even realized when I actually watched the tape.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a great compliment. Again, he's going to have some stat lines where he's going to have 7 carries in a game, but the hope is it's 7 for 78 and a touchdown, right? And he and Rayleigh Brown, it's nice that they can share the load and alternate. Again, neither one, if they're the hot hand, I don't want either one to get like 25 carries. So you've got to make sure you watch their touches and keep them fresh all year, because we're going to have ambitions beyond, making the Cheez-It Bowl. So that's going to be key. We got to go get another back we can just mix in the mix and kind of like your middle innings guy in baseball, like come in and eat up some pitches and then let the little guys stay fresh and explosive.
Yeah. It was a hell of a weekend, man. All right. So we talked interior O-line, needing to do that. We do want Brunner, as someone mentioned that. He's been pretty quiet. He went to go visit Indiana from our reporting, but he didn't sign. But he's not been, some of these guys are like, you can ask their agent anything and they'll let you know. Brunner's not running it that way. He's been kind of more quiet. So we have to see what's going on there. If you do land Seton, I would imagine they wouldn't have any problem ponying up for Brunner at that point too, right?
Boy, you could fix your O-line like right there.
Yeah.
You can go to pretty high level. Connor Robertson can still improve substantially.
Yeah.
But having really solid guards and good tackles next to him, I think would help him out. So,
and returning center is good.
Yeah. So look, there's Brockermeyer on the offensive line for Miami is like the least physically imposing, the least like NFL projectable. And he's doing a good job for them. Part of the reason is because he's coordinating their calls, but also he's surrounded by so much talent. It takes the heat off of him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the whole point is they're supposed to double. Like a center is a helped player. He's an additional player. He helps the guard do this. There's not a ton unless you get zero tech situation. So he's supposed to be a player that works in tandem with other players. But having that guy returning that knows the system, I think is important. And they wanted him back, which I think is important. And you saw a lot of players that Texas was borderline and Texas let him go. And so he was one that they didn't. So even though they hurt me deeply last year with their decision-making, they seem to be very intentional, this year in what they're doing, even though you're kind of like, you're letting that player go. Well, it's like, okay, they have grander schemes in place, clearly. Ryan Nelson asked Paul Wadlington, what position group do you feel the fans are confident that we will be fine, but you still have your questions?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know yet. I want to see the final roster before I make that determination. I mean, right now, linebacker depth is a little bit of a problem. You brought in the Florida State guy to help resolve some of that, but we've got to get a starter ahead of him. Yeah. So I interacted with the Florida State guy who's pretty dialed in. And I was like, hey, what's the deal on this guy? And he said, Florida State fans actually really like him because Florida State's had some quit in him the last couple of years. And he's a guy that doesn't quit. He said he's very physical. He's tough. He's a good locker room guy. He's a good guy. He said he's slow.
So that was my evaluate. He cannot be in coverage. The foot speed is not there. But if you want a guy that'll run up and hit a guard or run up and hit a back, he'll do that. So he's
in the box.
Yeah, exactly. He's a box player. So you still need I still have my questions about safety. I feel really good about corner nickel. But safety,
I don't have any concerns about Jelani. So I guess it's the other
spot, I do in pass coverage.
Oh, so I'm not worried about that.
So that's where, and I think with Jelani needed to advance in pass coverage, but you're getting Muschamp in another year. So I think that's a natural progression that I think
he's going to get coached.
And so that's the thing. But I still, overall depth in pass coverage from the safety position is something that I still have a little bit of a question. Like if I got 5th year cheap safety that's played a lot of reps, I'd feel cheap. I'd feel better about that. I feel really good about corner and nickel. Linebacker, you can't evaluate because the room's not done. Feel great about edge. Feel solid on interior. Maybe Quentin's talked about this too. We don't have a true slot tight end, which is so ironic because I've been complaining that I want a pass block or a blocking tight end for years, and then we got him. We don't have a true split out tight end yet. So Townsend is good behind the lines, leak out, stuff like that. But he's not a route runner yet, even though he's fast. I mean, his verified track times is one of the fastest tight ends we've had. But as far as Gunnar Helm is now in the slot and he's going to run this route, we don't have that proven yet. Winston might provide that.
I think Winston's that guy.
He might be.
Yeah, and it also might be out of the backfield.
Yep.
I think we'll be okay at tight end, which is surprising to say, given that we've not done a great job there. But I think Townsend and Winston are going to get their shot. So we'll see.
And we hear great things about Winston is like finding the zone, just being a smart tight end and athletic enough. So Winston could be. It's just I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
He's a good utility player, right? He's the cowboy back for Oklahoma State. He's the guy that the Sooners used to terrorize people with. J.D. Runnels, right? Just 230-something pound guy, hard nose, can run, can catch, will block. Like valuable piece, very underrated, and something that will add value to our team. I wouldn't be surprised if we put him in the backfield and have him be a lead blocker on some plays. So we'll see.
Well, if we don't have great pass blocking and running back, you have Masunis, which matters now. Shannon, he had a good game versus Michigan. Ian was pointing it out, and I went and watched, and he actually did. So you could even go kind of 12-ish without back protection. And so I think it matters because the problem with 12 last year is we couldn't block. And the route, there's only two guys out on the route. And so Arch is forcing it deep and just playing hero ball, and it didn't really work. But if you can force it deep with a back that can let Arch go, okay, I can just check it down and still get 6 yards here, I think that's a really good answer for 12 personnel, and just use your actual tight ends as the protection opposed to a back. So there's a lot of things here in explosiveness that can work. But if you're forcing me to ask about what I think about at night before I go to bed, which is the safety pass protection, I watch clinics and then I go to bed and think about whatever the clinic topic was. I'm like, could Texas do that? Could Texas do? It's that meme where the wife wonders what you're thinking about. I'm just like,
the Roman
how
Empire.
will Texas's safety handle this motion? Do we have the guy for that?
That's the wife is like, I bet he's thinking about his ex-girlfriend and he's thinking about the Roman Empire.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
hey, there's a couple of super chats we didn't get to.
Let's see.
Make sure we're serving the people.
Well, let's see what we got. We got a really great one from Quentin. Thank you. Darky's a beta male. You know, because we stiffed you on the first two, I'll allow this one, but we will not opine upon.
I do not believe that is true.
If Sark's an out, but also if you know Sark like behind the scenes, the stories behind the scenes, he's intense. Yeah, like he does good in front of the media. You can see him get a little testy, right? What was
the California cool thing is a veneer.
Yeah.
And actually is his day-to-day personality. But there's certain things where he's old school and every bit as Signetti as Signetti. So I wouldn't underestimate Sark in that regard. He's got a driving ambition to win.
He has this intense stare. And remember the Washington where he got all mad at the stadium worker? Like that's in him, you know. And so no, behind the scenes, he's a little more intense than people realize. I mean, he gets on to guys. Like players coach, sure, because he understands the modern world, but it's not like he's just like, hey guys, do what you would like to do. That's not a thing. Sonny V, thank you for the chat, man. Sark needs to take a page from the Arch attitude on the sideline. I don't give a heck. Hopefully.
I don't give a fiddlesticks.
Yeah. That'd be great. But Arch can, like I said, I don't even feel like Sark needs to make a psychological determination on that. I think kind of naturally, it's like Florida, that game 2 years ago where we ran it up on them on accident because we were just calling like counter and then we would house it. So it's like, I don't even think he has to make that decision. But if you look what they're doing in the portal, I mean, it's pretty wild that they're like, this looks like, hey, we're going the overused all in. But it's like, hey, man, you got to get a national championship. We got this many first rounders hanging around, too. So it looks like they're gearing up for that kind of attack, right?
Well, guess what? We're going to find out early because we've got Ohio State game 2 in Austin. 2 weeks later, we're at Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. Then we've got a bye that we're playing the Sooners in the Cotton Bowl. That's always its own thing. We host Florida, Ole Miss. We host Mississippi State, at Missouri, at LSU. That's going to be a night game. Put that down. Arkansas, again, they have to come back to DKR and get blown out. And then at A&M. So our road schedule in the SEC, no joke, guys. It is legit. And we don't even know what these teams are going to fully look like. Promise you, LSU is going to be, they'll be ready. They're going to have some guys.
Yeah, and we got to be ready early. It's not like, hey, hopefully this team can figure out in week 9. It's you need to go.
Yep.
Especially because you saw what they did with the Florida loss. That was just the albatross, that hung on our – it was the first SEC game, and that was the reason, To me, I'd argue it was actually getting blown out by Georgia. That's when we actually technically dropped out of ability to get in the playoffs. But that was the party line, right? So you apparently can't drop that type of game at all. Kirby likes to punk him on game day. Well, what's hiring Muschamp. So when Muschamp got hired, I asked someone, I was like, what games do I need to watch on all 22 of Muschamp? Like what was a Muschamp game or a big game plan? And he's like, you need to watch the Texas games because Muschamp took a liking to Sark's offense and breaking it. And so that kind of mix of when it was Quinn game 1, that was Muschampian defense. It's breaking protections, simulated blitzes, confusing the quarterback, dropping the corner all game. And then whenever he knew that Quinn was going to throw it, cloud him, get the interception. So it was Muschamp. Now, don't get me wrong. It's Kirby's team. But Muschamp took a big part in being like, I would like to defend Sark's offense. And so Sark is like, all right, come here.
Well, so in football, there's such a thing as advanced scouting. And what you typically do is you get a GA, or even for a big game, you'll get a couple of position coaches. And 4 weeks out, they'll already start working on Ohio State. They'll already start working on Michigan, that big game that looms, right? Muschamp was Kirby's special projects guy. And he was working on Texas in August in anticipation of that game. And he just walked into Kirby's office about 10 days out and handed him the game plan. And Kirby looked at it and went, looks good. And it showed. So now we got that guy on our sideline. So it's going to be hopefully a little bit different dynamic.
Paul, do you think players, exports are learning the grass isn't always greener and should have taken the pay cut?
Yeah, some are. I think also you're seeing some players save face who are effectively given a what they considered a low ball offer, or they're told realistically this is where you're going to fit in the rotation or the depth chart, and they go somewhere else and then exaggerate the money they got so they can save face. Right? We're seeing that. I know that for a fact in one situation. You're also seeing situations where we didn't want the guy to take the pay cut. We also wanted him to hit the road. Yep. So I'm not going to get into who that is and all that, but sometimes your offer is a message.
Correct.
And the message is our time together has ended and we wish you the best.
That's why I trick them. I just take the offer.
I take the offer. I know I was making 700,000, but I'll take the 25,000.
Yeah, you idiots. You can't trick me.
I really like our meal plan. How about that?
Yeah, I like it here.
I like it. I want to get my degree.
Yeah.
I want to get my corporate communications degree from Texas.
Yeah. Paul, who's the best mortgage man in all the land?
Well, there's only one answer. Gabe Winslow. He's available in the portal right now. And interest rates, Connor, did you know that they're a 3-year low right now?
Yes, dude. I check every
You
morning.
were texting me that earlier.
Yes.
You were really excited about it. Mortgage rates are at a 3-year low. This is the guy you want to partner with to go buy your house. It's Gabe Winslow. 832-557-1095. That's 832-557-1095. Why Gabe? Guy's absolutely awesome at what he does. He's one of the top originators in the entire state of Texas. He is a former UT grad. He's always a UT grad. He's not just a former UT grad. And he's a former National Merit Scholar. He's got a law degree, He's really sharp. He's really good at what he does. Partner with this guy. This is the guy you want in your corner for the biggest financial decision of your life, buying a house. Give him a call, 832-557-1095. Tell him the Texas Homer sent you.
And I do. All right, Paul. So I saw an interesting reporting yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but basically the Big Ten is like, hey, SEC, we can move to 16 if you agree to move to 24 in later years.
No.
So, but
no,
that's what I say. The guttural response is
no.
I wanted to ask you this.
So tired of this, dude.
Well, see, I was an expansionist. 12 is fine. Like 12 is fine. I don't even want to go to 16. And somebody was like, well, isn't it proof of Miami getting in at the 10 seed that we should expand? I was like, no, because they got in at the 10 seed and like it's proof that 12 worked. But what are your thoughts? 16
I'm an
is the
expansionist.
furthest I would allow, but like 24, it's like, why don't we just go to an idea where everyone plays a regular season and we call that the playoff?
Yeah.
And then at the end, we crown a champion.
Start the playoffs in October.
We're getting back to the BCS with this.
Let's do 68 teams. It works for I love the people who do it works for the NCAA basketball tournament. It's like slightly different sport.
Yeah.
I am an expansionist in the sense that Greenland, Baja, Mexico, and Western Canada belong to us, and it's all inevitable.
Yep.
Right. But I'm not an expansionist for college playoffs. So I would go back to 8 if I could.
12 is
never happening.
I wanted to expand, but 12 is like, hey, we're good. Like I know Texas didn't get in, so the argument is like, well, if 16 was in. So, but I'm not going to try to change the sport based on if Texas got in and made it run. But 16 is the furthest I would go. But and this Ryan Nelson points out, Big Ten wants to pass 16 because ESPN doesn't have full rights past 16.
That's right. That's it's just a pure moneymaker. I don't buy that more is better. I think the whole idea of a playoff is it should be the elite. And I don't think you should have – I don't want to argue about number 16 and number 17's resume. And it's like Illinois. Like, get out of here.
Have you seen – there was a really good video. I'll try to find it. I watched it years ago. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. That they basically point out that the size of the NFL playoffs doesn't crown the best team. It crowns the hottest team, which is all.
It just creates more friction, like more like strange events.
But they just look, hey, regular season record. How often does the winner of the regular season win the playoff? And it's not that often.
No.
And so what they're saying is what you're creating is they got hot and they made a run, right? Miami wasn't the second best team, at least maybe first, if you look mid-season, right? So it also just kind of dilutes the concept, and most playoffs do this, right? Every time we talk about baseball, every time we talk about basketball, it's who got hot late. It's what do you want? Do you want the best team or do you want who got hot late? It's trying to decipher that. The more you add to the teams, the more it becomes a little bit more.
Well, if Miami were to upset Indiana, you'd have consecutive years where the got hot team won the playoff.
Yep.
Ohio State was a 2-loss team, remember?
Yep.
And Miami had some like pathetic losses. So, I mean, ultimately, I don't like it. I would stick to 12, and I want the first 2 rounds on campuses. I don't care about the bowls. If they die and they wither, I could care less.
And they already fixed the getting 2 G5s in, right? They already changed that it's so I agree there. Like I let your G5. They keep saying antitrust, but it's like I don't even know how that works. Getting an exemption like the NFL, but it's just make the 12 better. Like focus on making 12 better before just expanding is my thought. So rounds on campus, make sure that there's not a technicality where 2 G5s get in. Really, no G5 should get in unless they are naturally, truly ranked top 12. That's because my thing is like, well, you can't keep the G5s out. It's like, we're not. If they're ranked top 12, they would be in like any other team. But the problem is we promote other leagues in regardless if they're top 12. It should be straight seeding top 12 is my long way of saying that.
Do you buy the idea that the buys are difficult for the teams who don't play, or do you think that was a matter of the matchups?
No, I've argued this all season. But I don't get it from football knowledge, which is weird. What I really think of with buys is stand-up comedy. which is weird, but stand-ups constantly talk about how breaks make you rusty and that you have to just be in the flow. So I think like a week bye is okay if you're talking about healing, but anything past like when you're going 2-3 weeks without playing, I think is actually detrimental, especially when you've been in the flow that long and in a training block that long. I think there's something to that. I don't know if it's physical or psychological, but I don't like long buys. I think it's a disadvantage once you reach a certain healing metric.
Didn't seem to bother Indiana.
Well, that's just, yeah, that's, I don't grade the sport on Saban and Cignetti. These are special. I grade on the general team. Because we have this problem in college football where like, do what Cignetti's doing. It's like, he's a special coach, guys. These are one of ones. You can't just do what they're doing.
Well, so I pointed out how special Indiana's receivers are, right? And they catch everything and they run great routes and they're all big guys. Most coaches executing that plan, you'll just end up with a bunch of big receivers who can't run.
Exactly.
Like,
if they knew how to coach like that, if they knew how to coach like that, Paul, everyone would coach like that.
That's right.
If everyone knew how to not get penalties, they wouldn't get penalties. So it's just like there's something that he's doing that he's figured out over a huge career at different levels of sport, growing up with a dad coach, that he's learned that you're not just going to be able to watch on tape and solve for.
Yeah, there's something to be said for coaching at every level, because it's real easy and a lot of fun to coach when you have the better team 11 weeks out of 12. Like, everyone's like, oh, Lanning's such a good coach. It's like Oregon pretty much outmatches everyone they play in the regular season, except maybe one team. And then when they play a team that kind of can hang with them, things go south for them kind of fast. You ever notice that?
Yeah, it's like Texas.
Hard truths on this Tuesday Live from Connor.
Yeah, but it's like when you're used to having pure talent advantage, that works until you get to the very top, because as soon as the talent narrows, it's about coaching. And that's why Cignetti's having a ton of success, even without incredible talent. But the talent gap shrinks, coaching, that's your edge. The edge becomes coaching.
But I think there's a huge value in these Cignetti or even Chesney types who they've been in the situation where they don't have the hosses.
Yeah.
And they're coaching around it and they're thinking asymmetrically. And, you know, when you inherit the job at Alabama, I don't know if you necessarily have to do that. Right.
You don't.
And so it's going to be interesting because, you know, like I said at the beginning of this, Cignetti's going to get a bunch of guys opportunities who didn't have them before. And I think he's going to get a lot of guys fired.
There's a poker training simulator where you can dictate what cards you're going to receive and everyone else will get dealt. It's a computer program.
Right.
Good guys will deal themselves 7 deuce offsuit, which is the worst hand in poker. Hard to make good hands with it. They will deal that to themselves every time. And so they are always disadvantaged and they're always going to basically lose because of the cards. So they're going to have to play the actual game of poker. There's something to that with coaches too, that are dealt these bad hands, are forced to learn these really sound skills. And when you're a Lanning, and wherever Lanning was before, but you go from Georgia to Oregon, you're Sark, you go from USC to Bama to Texas. There's a lot, you don't learn these skills, backed in the corner skills that some of these guys that come up really through the ranks do. Now, if you can, what Sark's doing right now is what Sark needs to do. Get undeniable, overwhelming talent.
Yeah.
That's where Sark has had success. And so it's not that Sark needs to, over a course of 3 weeks, learn all the rules of Cignetti. It's not possible. This is how Texas will win, with overwhelming force and explosivity. So they're doing the right thing for what we know, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, amass talent. Hey, let me ask you, I think this is probably an article for me to write, and we can conjecture a little bit before we say goodbye to the good people, but do you feel like Texas stepping up to the plate here monetarily, how much of that was the disappointment of the season, a fire getting sparked in our staff and Sark, but how much of it was Arch Manning balling out in a game that we were told doesn't matter? How much of that is guys with the pockets saying, man, this dude's potentially special. We can't blow this last year.
Yeah.
How much? What do you think that played a role?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like,
Yeah.
even behind the scenes, it's like everyone's like, it's Arch's last year. Hey man, this is Arch's last year. Like, if you can't win with Arch, what are you gonna win with? Is like the fear behind it. And so yeah, I think that's driving it. The disappointment of last offseason, it's not like they missed on guys, they just didn't even try to get guys. And so I think, coaches will act like we don't listen to the noise. Brandon Harris lands Cam Coleman. What's the hashtag on his tweet? All in.
Yeah.
What's the narrative from the Texas media? And the word is all in. They see it all, and they generally do respond. The best way to get something from the Texas coaches is to bitch, moan, and complain about it all year. And because they normally solve it. And remember in recruiting, we'd be like, we don't have linebackers before it was Choate. Everyone hated Choate. We're like, we don't have linebackers. What is Texas going on? And then Texas goes out and buys all these linebackers the next year. Complaining works, guys, with this staff. You need to complain. They do hear you. They will not tell you they hear you. They will lie and say they don't hear you.
Well, I won't complain about the super chat we just got, which is a counterbalance to what the picture you just painted.
What was the turnaround? What wins did they get to? 7 from 1, right?
Yeah. Didn't they go 0-12?
Yeah, I was going to say it was close to 0, and I think it got to 7 before he took USC, right? I think that was it.
I think so.
So turnaround, yeah, from 0 to 7 is a huge gap. But it's not like 0. It's not Cignetti, right? It's not.
We're not. You just said you can't compare everyone to Cignetti.
I'm joking, but
you just said that's unfair.
But when I hear turnaround, I want to hear like 0 to 10. Now, of course, his time got cut short there because they were actually probably on a trajectory to do so. But USC came calling. You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, be wary of these coaches and almost all of them have some type of previous stop to the big names. But you just do have to be worried because it's a different style of coaching. It's different, like in motorsports, right? Like F1 is different than driving NASCAR. There's different with the capability of the cars. The skill is different.
Yeah.
So it's and sometimes you can get these really good undervalued coaches, and then you put them into the high ranks, and they can't handle that either. They can't handle the 5-star world. So
no, that's right.
It's not that one's good or bad. It's that it's literally different styles, and even being in the SEC feels different with the pressure there. So it's like it's not that I'm saying like high end coaches are bad. It's a different car you got to drive, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and it's also not a fully efficient market. So there's a common belief, I think, amongst a lot of media, frankly, that the top 10 jobs in college football, I mean, the top 10 programs, the top 10 jobs, right? They just happen to have the top 10 coaches. Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that incredible?
And it's like, I'm pretty sure that there's better football coaches coaching the number 53 team, but you don't know it because they're coaching their ass off to go 7-5 with 3-9 talent, right? Yeah. And I promise you, if you take a snapshot of the top 10 teams in any given year, and then you look at those coaches retrospectively, you got some bums on there. And even, I mean, dude, Ed Orgeron has a national title. Like, yeah. And he, by the way, has a national title to one of the greatest college teams that ever played the game.
He didn't really even have a hand in it. It's just like, hey,
well, he recruited.
Right.
But
that story, the Joe Burrow stories are hilarious.
But I guess the point is it's not a fully efficient market. And there are Cignettis out there. And there are Chesneys out there. And lo and behold, guess who's spending money right now, Connor? I don't know if you know this. UCLA. Believe it or not. He woke up the sleeping giant in Westwood briefly. We'll see what happens.
I agree. It's not Sig, but I'm just saying it's not the same third base situation as Laney.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. All right, everyone. Hopefully the portal keeps on rolling. And you can find that information on Inside Texas. Transfer portal, 50% off Ultimate Fan Bundle. Inside Texas, On3 and Rivals. They're all together. Can be F5ing, just refreshing on the page. Eric's been dropping a lot of awesome notes. Let me make sure I got through all your super chats here, and I have appeared to do such a thing. Everyone, thank you so much. And then tune in for the rest of the day's content. Have a good one, everyone. This was brought to you by Academy Sports and out.